and in today's video, it's a really interesting one. It's my attempt at building a simple 2D RPG-like game using Phaser 3. Phaser 3 is a JavaScript package that people use to develop 3D games and 2D games as well. So you can check it out if you're interested. This was a particularly interesting and challenging project because I haven't actually worked with Phaser before, so it was a lot of fun and also a lot of pain. But I'm glad we made it this far. So let me just quickly demonstrate how the game works. So we have our character here. He has to collect all this loot while avoiding the enemies. So if he comes in contact with the enemy, his HP goes down to 0 and then he's wasted. So let's try that again, but this time avoiding the enemies. You can also attack the enemies using the swing animation of the hammer, and that just makes the enemies disappear, um, like so. And boom, the game is won. So pretty simple game that we've built here, and I'm gonna do my best to kind of explain what is going on. So as usual, I have a document to assist me, and it's pretty much just a short document highlighting some of the lessons I learned while using Phaser. There are some key concepts that I had to understand and take note of. So the perhaps the most important one is scenes. So you can think of a scene as a self-contained section of the game that has its own logic, its own assets and gameplays, and etc. And if we look into the code here in our index.ts file, we can see that this is pretty much where the game runs. So we're using Phaser's game class, and we're passing in a game config. And this is the config where it has the title of the game, the type of renderer, physics, etc. But this is the most important part, where we have the scenes. We have the loading scene, level 1, and UI scene. So you can check out those ones in the scene folder. So the loading scene is pretty much our entry point into this whole game. And what it does is that it serves to load our assets and start the other scenes. So a scene has three functions. It has the create function, the preload function, and the update function, which I will show you later on. So the preload is just to load your images and assets, and the create is it runs after the preload, so you can pretty much do what you want inside. So here we just start the other scenes. We start the level 1 scene. The level 1 scene is pretty much the game itself, where most of the magic happens. The UI scene is just to display the score and the HP above our character's head. So the level 1 scene, we can see we don't have any preload methods here because, like I said, loading scene is pretty much just to load all our assets in and start the other scenes. But we do have the create scene. So in our level 1, we initialize the map. So the map is pretty much what we see here, this tiled grid that the character is walking on. And that brings us back to one of the terms, a tile set. So you can think of a tile set as a as a sprite sheet. And what is a sprite sheet? A sprite sheet is just a large image that has different assets on it, and you kind of use that to create a tile map that represents the the game world that we're seeing. So let me show you my tile map. So this is an example of a tile set. So we have different assets here, and we just picked some of these to build our world. Right, so we initialize the map, we add the player. So the player here was it's a sprite, and a sprite is pretty much It's a game object representing any assets that you've loaded in, and so it's a sprite, but it's a kind of a special sprite. It's like a physical sprite. So a physical sprite is like a special game object that where you can add some animation to your sprites, add some physics like collision, rotation, and all the sorts of that. So that's pretty much what our player is, and we can initialize it with the initial position. Then obviously we initialize the chests, the enemies, the camera, which is the zoom, and the central focus of our character, like the camera follows him around. And yeah, we add some physics where the player collides with the walls or the wall layer, so you can't get past it, collides with it. Yeah, and also we have the update function. The update function runs the player's update. So the update function is something that's called frequently, every multiple times per second, and we can use this to check certain things each time. So what we check here is the keystrokes. So if you're pressing up, left, down, or right, it updates the velocity and the animation of the player, pretty much. So yeah, don't know if I have enough time to describe more things. I'm just going to touch on the remaining concepts. So a frame is what we use to do the animation. So it's very similar to a tile set because it's a but what it represents is a single texture within a layer of textures. So in our sprite sheets we have this. This is our sprite sheet, and each one of these are frames, and that's what we use to do animations. And the events is what we use to talk between the classes and the scenes. So I'll just give a brief example here. So in our player class, we have in our constructor somewhere, when you press the space bar, it animates the attack motion, and that sends an event called attack, and that event is processed or listened to or handled by the enemy class. And yeah, as we can see here, so it just we have this attack handler, and what the attack handler does is if if it's between if the attack is within a certain distance, it receives damage and then this like disables the physical body. So like they they're destroyed eventually. So that's pretty much all I can cover in this short time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.